because we're kind of all going remote now, and it's a challenge, right, for people to do that. Traditionally, what would have happened is you go and then you kind of work hand in hand with people and really make an impression upon people, and because you're working alongside them and you learn, and it's a two-way street, right? You learn from people, but you also really they get to see you in action. Now I think it's a lot of it, and a lot of these internships might be shrinking, etc. But I think the ways you really make an impact. One is the work that you're given, like understanding, like you may not have as many opportunities to like clarify, etc. So really, taking those notes and the things that you're in those meetings and things like that, so you know what you're doing, and then really the quality of the work, you should just kind of double, triple, quadruple check kind of the things that you're working on and sending out, because the number of evaluation points for people just shrinks, right? Just by the nature, they don't see you a lot doing that. So I'd just say that's number one. Number two, like over communicating with your immediate team, really important, especially up front. Even if you feel like you're not like working on something right now, be like, hey, how can I help? How can I help? How can I do this? Can I do this? Those types of things really matter in terms of creating a view of someone, especially now when you don't have as many check-in points, right? The people that hadn't been successful in some of the things, and I hear you're year over year on Elevate stuff, is because they kind of were in this bubble and they were kind of heads down working stuff, but they didn't spend the time to kind of check in with people or communicate what they're working on, etc. Such that 3 weeks go by and then kind of only 1 or 2 people know what they're doing. On that same token, still taking the time to build relationships with people at the firm, really important. Sure, you could do it via Zoom, you could do it via Blue Jeans or whatever. I think you guys should just set aside time, like on a Friday, maybe not the first Friday you come in, but just start developing that relationships, because it is going to be important. It's a firm-wide decision if people want to give you guys offers and stuff, right? So I think it's more than 1 or 2 people need to be like, hey, this is a good guy or gal that we want to bring back to the firm, right? So let the work quality speak for itself. Pay immense attention to detail and really get that part right. Number 2, communicate, over communicate, and really just be around to help, whatever it is, and also be proactive, right? Like it sounds like I'm saying like something very basic, but if there's an IC committee memo that's coming up, be like, hey, can I take this section, right? So that requires ownership, and that requires like a little bit of risk taking. Like you may not know exactly like what you're doing yet, but really be like, hey, I can take but then take an area that you can actually like think you can do. But if it's like a market update or some sort of a industry analysis or something that may not be, you have to own the model from day one of your internship, but it could be like, hey, I'm willing to do research into this industry. Usually the industry research is one thing that investment professionals are like, okay, sure, you can do that, because we would have outsourced that to like McKinsey anyway, right? So I think it's great if you can do some of that and then kind of take that burden off, but also help us understand the space. And it also really give you an understanding of what are the things in the industry that drive an investment, investment case. The other thing is, the fourth thing is like just listen and observe. I know this is kind of like, it sounds like no duh, but like not just listen, but like listen for how people make decisions and investing decisions, especially, right? Weekly or bi-weekly, we would get the entire team together and walk through the ideas that other people are going through, such that we can criticize them, etc. Because PE has become, and it continues to become, much more collaborative, because by nature of that, we all are seeing things from different perspectives. So when I say listen, I mean like listen for how people present ideas in investment committee. Listen for how people present their own internal ideas. Like usually what we do is when we grab coffee, we go by the coffee machine and then be like, hey, what are you working on? And then I'll tell someone, hey, I think that's interesting for this. Am I thinking about it right? Am I thinking about this? You obviously don't have that, but on these calls that you guys have, a lot of your firms are going to have like weekly check-ins and stuff like that. Just listen for themes, etc. And then if something's interesting, proactively reach out to someone and be like, hey, I thought it was really interesting. I did work in XYZ at Wharton or something else. Obviously within reason, you don't have to be like over eager for everything. But I think things where you can add value, just be proactive in finding ways you can add value without going crazy. I'd probably say those are the 4 things, right? Do good work, communicate, build relationships, and like listen and try to be proactive in contributing things.